So again, thanks so much for coming here. The way this meeting's going to go is I'm going to tell you a quick, brief history of this project, and then we're going to let Alzheimer's Community Care really talk about what they are and how amazing we think they are, right? And then we will hear from one of our members here at Grace that uses the services of Alzheimer's Community Care. And we hope that you will admire this organization as much as we do afterwards. After that, we want to hear your questions, your concerns, all those things. So that's kind of how the meeting will go. We hope that it's not longer than an hour and a half for the whole thing. All right. So that's hopefully it's shorter than all of that. So why did we start on this project? Well, at Grace about 2 years ago, we paid off our mortgage, which is wonderful. We paid off our mortgage, and all of a sudden, we have funds available, and we're like, what's a creative way for us to go back into debt? And we then went and started looking around. And the congregation really is like this too. We didn't want to build something just for the church here. We didn't want to build something just for us. Like, I feel like a lot of churches around us, the first thing they do, like, oh, we got some extra money in our pocket, let's build a new chapel, you know? And I was just discontent with that. And I'm like, what's something that we can do that helps? And we looked at all kinds of different things. We looked at all kinds of different little nooks and crannies of ways that we as a congregation could build something that would help. And we then had the guy who will talk a little bit later come up and go, well, this Alzheimer's daycare that I've been going to, they need another location. And we were like, really? And we looked into it, and we were blown away at them. Like, the reason why I'm a pastor is, it's to stand up here and look pretty in front of everyone. Let's get the first thing out there, right? Let's get that out there right away. But the real reason is I want people to know that someone is for them, right? That someone is out there to help them. The way we've been putting it here about that is that there are a lot of people out there that haven't heard good news in a long time. And especially those families struggling with Alzheimer's. They haven't heard good news in a long time. And we think as a church that we should be places of good news. And we want to give them that good news. So that's really where this project got started. And that's where we met Mary Barnes in the Alzheimer's Community Care section. Is we wanted to do something that was honest and helpful with our neighborhoods around us. So with that, I would like to invite Mary up. And actually it's Bob first. Sorry about that.
Either way.
Here, Bob.
I'll hold on to it, but I don't think anyone will have a hard time hearing
the camera.
Okay. I'm Bob Gorman. I'm chairman of the board of directors of Alzheimer's Community Care. I'm a 40-plus year resident of St. Lucie County and have been involved with the organization for at least 12 years. This will, when completed, be our third Alzheimer's, or I should say dementia-specific, daycare center in St. Lucie County. We have 11 at the present, operating in Palm Beach, Martin, and St. Lucie counties. The closest one is only about 4 or 5 miles from here at St. Andrews on Prima Vista. The first one in St. Lucie County is also in a Lutheran church up on Jenkins Road, west of Fort Pierce at St. Peter's. Pastor Ted Rice up there. And I've been involved, as I said, in the organization for at least 12 years, but aware of them pretty much since they were created 23 years ago. And I got involved because I could see what these people do, intend to do, and endeavor to do for families where a loved one is suffering from Alzheimer's. Besides the dementia-specific daycare centers, we have an educational program where we train first responders, law enforcement, nurses, create curriculum at nursing schools for the professionals, future professionals, to become familiar with dealing with individuals with cognitive impairment. Everybody in this community is affected one way or another by Alzheimer's or a similar dementia. And unfortunately, the numbers only continue to grow. And if you ask someone, do you want to live in a nursing home? I bet you 99.98% of the time, the answer is no way. Anything but that. And yet, what alternatives are there to families who a loved one, whether it be a spouse, a sibling, a child with early onset, who shows signs of dementia, and the caregivers end up giving up their quality of life. Figures over the past couple decades have shown that more than 60% of caregivers die before the patient does. And the disease process can last 8 to 20 years. Individuals who created the organization in Palm Beach County 23 years ago had a vision. They had actually been a part of Alzheimer's Association, but wanted to continue to make services available locally. And the idea grew and partnered with a church to start a couple days a week of daycare so that the caregivers could give respite. That's grown to where we have studies indicating and showing that there is actually a benefit for the patients in the daycare centers, because 70% of time is devoted to therapeutic activities. They aren't just warehoused. And at night, they go home to their families and loved ones, to spouses, to grandchildren, siblings, holidays, rather than being at the nursing home. 93% of the individuals who are serviced in our daycare centers never end up in a nursing home. We have advocacy. We travel to Tallahassee with caregivers every legislative session during committee weeks and advocate for statewide policy. Silver alerts. I'm sure we've all, if you've traveled down to Palm Beach County on 995, have seen those signs. The number of silver alerts in just the last few years so overwhelmed the number of amber alerts that it ought to be a concern to everyone. That's a law because advocates, caregivers, went to Tallahassee and got the legislature to enact it rather than it just being an executive order or directive under Governor Charlie Crist. The Dementia Specific Daycare Center Act, which has been adopted in Florida now, I believe it's 5 years ago, set requirements and minimum standards for any adult daycare center that advertises or seeks to advertise or claim they treat patients suffering from Alzheimer's or similar dementias have certain operational requirements. That includes staffing, nurses, activities. Of course, we spearheaded that because we felt we wanted to see certain standards to raise the bar across the state. So in addition to our 11 centers that are all licensed as specialized dementia-specific daycare centers, there's roughly 23 others in the state that have seen why they should do that. We're a 501c organization. Our budget, or our budget and expenditures in our 2017-2018, our last fiscal year, we do an audit every year, was about $7.4 million. 93 cents of every dollar we get goes into program. Now, how can we do that? It's by partnering with churches. That has been the manner in which we're able to provide these services, and families that don't qualify for any government programs or otherwise can afford it. At $75 a day, it's a very small fraction of an extended care facility or even a residential memory care unit. You call Brittany and ask them, or the Brennan team, what it is per month in their memory care unit. It would bankrupt most families in this community in a year or two, if not sooner. And again, who wants to say that's where mom or dad wants to go? We are very pleased that we were approached by the congregation here at Grace Lutheran. It's been a wonderful experience getting involved and working on this project. The Alzheimer's Community Care in this project is contributing significant dollars that it has to collect from private donors. And in exchange for that, it will have a 30-year lease to operate out of a part of the building for the daycare center and administrative offices. Part of the program work that we do is what we call family nurse consultant. And these are nurses who act as liaisons with members of the public and families who are seeking help. It can be a review as to whether the daycare is appropriate. Other community resources. To check on live-alons. There are a lot of people who live alone even as the disease process continues. They act as liaisons between the caregivers and family and the physicians, and are often the one called upon if the individual gets hospitalized, because they have the information there and available, and the nurses within the centers have that information available. We quarterly report to the physicians that take care of these patients. And immediately, if we find something, see something that seems to be a change that maybe needs medical attention, the daycares operate basically from 7 to 5:30, 5 days a week. The patients arrive either by family members bringing them, or in some instances, local community transit. Be happy to answer any questions you have about the organization, this project. If anybody has any? Mary?
Let's walk it through. Hello?
Yeah, we're going to do the questions at the after Mary and Ed.
Mary Lyons,
Yeah.
President and CEO of Alzheimer's Community Care. I've been working in the field of Alzheimer's since 1985. I remember when I started working in this field, there was a lot of myths, a lot of misinformation, a lot of different thoughts about our patients and our families. What started me, I remember, the first thing that got me emotionally connected, I think I was only starting this position, and back in 1985, in Boca Raton, and the caregiver called me up and says, I don't know what to do with my wife. She's driving me crazy. She's following me in the bathroom. When I go shopping, she's telling, who are you meeting? why are you doing this to me? Why are you, he says, I can't take it anymore. I says, why don't you come, let's talk to me, and let's talk to, and bring your wife, and we'll see what we can do. So he brought his wife. And there was no services at that time. It was just a matter of reaching out and trying to help and getting support and doing support groups. That was the superficial approach that we had at the time. So we came in, I had a wonderful volunteer who was in the office, and so when Jerry took on Gladys and came in, they started talking and started laughing, and she started telling her about certain things that women can do and shopping. And so meanwhile, I took him into my office, and after 5 minutes, he was talking, and I said, hey, guess what? Do you hear anything? And he says, no, he says. I says, you're hearing your wife laughing? And he says, yes. He says, I hear that. And he says, I says, guess what? It's because she's enjoying someone else and she's being with someone else and not just you. And I said, that's what we need to do. And find out how you can get some socially involved in some other types of activities. This is what really touched me when he came out. She was sitting right there and she saw him right away. She saw him right away and she took his hand and she says, please don't put me away. That moved me. And I said, you know, we got to do something more. And we got involved with a local church later on, Dr. Pastor Dingle, down in Boca, at the Lutheran church. And I told him about our idea about having a place to go every day. And he says, we're going to do it. And we're going to do it. It was 40 years ago. Now I'm dealing with Dr. Pastor Dingle because he has Alzheimer's now. That is a true story. And he loves this whole concept of what we're doing throughout our communities. Let me say something about Grace Lutheran Church. The other part of this disease, and the other part of this, people that have shame, that are embarrassed. That is not right. Families who are suffering with the disease did not ask for it. They did everything right. They sent their kids to school. They raised their family. They paid their taxes. And then all of a sudden, at the time of their lives, they need help. And Grace Lutheran Church has opened up their hearts to bring that dignity and integrity. Just like we have Pastor Day that did a day at St. Andrews over there in Prima Vista, over there in Port St. Lucie. These are the things that make quality of life. And you have a community. And there's a community here, and there's a church here, and there's a congregation here that is willing to have this kind of dignity and this kind of care in the community. What a gift. I cannot tell you until I ask you how many people want this gift in their backyard. But we have a loving congregation here that values the human condition. And that's what this is all about. So I want to walk you through this beautiful building that we're going to be putting together. I have to do a clip, right?
Yep.
Get ready. Get ready.
Turn it around.
This is not going to blow up, right? Okay.
There you go. You got it now.
I got it right now?
You got it
This
now.
is the one that doesn't have any mark on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Alzheimer's community care. Okay, blinked. It's okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
All right. Do I do one more thing?
Yeah, you can go in.
Okay.
It'll start.
This is going to be something so good. All right. This is the front of the building. This is what you're going to see. And there's the church side, and there's the center side. So we're going to move slowly into the building. And we're moving. And then you're going to come to the front door. Now, there's a little office on the side. We'll talk about that later. And there's a naming opportunity, the sponsor. And we're fortunate to have the blessing of a foundation called Leo and Ann Albert Alzheimer's Foundation. So, there's the room, the big activity room. That all kind of therapeutic experiences and stimulation, and a place where our patients can enjoy themselves and be themselves. I know a lot of times people say that daycare is for the caregiver. No, I say it's for the patient to have a life every day and have a stimulation and be able to establish and be able to contain themselves into knowing that they're still successful. Another naming opportunity, by the way, for sponsorship. All right. But we already have a sponsor, the Boulay family, that have already given money. And Julia's money for this. Beautiful, beautiful setting. All right, now we're slowly backing up into looking into the rest of this is where we've got a grant in technology, and we feel technology is going to have a big, big impact on the advancement and the care of Alzheimer's from now on. And this is going to be, Alexis, talk to Alexis, that's a smart monitor there. And if we're talking about the weather, and if we're talking about all kinds of other types of music, singing, singing, everybody's going to be able to sing. Now this, of course, this is just staging. There's going to be a lot more chairs, a lot more people, and a lot more things going on. But isn't that beautiful? It's going to be, it's just the concept is to understand what technology is going to have in play. We have robotic cats and dogs that really, really bring an imagination and relationship, because it's all about person's moment and validation of where that person is. We do another click here. Soothing music and interactive. We have art therapy and music therapy, but these are easels. And I cannot tell you, when our patients get into painting and they're doing the colors, I have seen people with Parkinson's working so hard to have that colors put in, and then before you know it, they have the kind of painting that they love. It's good for clustering, for different, because you have people at different stages of the disease. The cognition stage, the cognitions, which we, by the way, look at all the time and understand where they're at a certain level, and giving them the kind of stimulation and attention they deserve. This goes on all day long. And we're looking at, we're music therapy, and we have recliners, and this is where we play mental stimulation and getting into socialization. There are friendships and there are contacts going on every day. This person or this kind of environment is not able to have if you keep a person at home, because to me, keeping a person at home throughout the disease process is a kiss of death, because of the fact that the vegetation happens so quickly. So you have memory games, and we have memory stimulation and all kinds of, and of course, again, we have lots of volunteers that come in and do the different types of singing and the type of interaction, even some high school kids. I mean, it's just an ongoing activity that happens on a daily basis. Dignity is important when it comes to hygiene, and when it comes to, in case there's some sort of an accident or something, we have showers, and we have the privacy, the room in the bathroom where it's big enough where people have their own isolation during that time. Not isolation, but staff is in there with them, but to help them get ready to be back out into their activities again. And we spend a lot of time and effort and money on the kind of activity and the kind of interior designing and interior resources for them to have that dignified moment when they need it. This is the kitchen. And this is where we have caterers bring food in. We don't do the cooking, but we have caterers brought in. But this is where it's prepared. And this is where, of course, patients don't necessarily go back there, but we serve breakfast, we serve lunch, and we serve snacks. There's a lot of socialization. It was when you're eating. That's what we like to eat, I guess, right? So anyway, that's what I think. But anyway, it's a wonderful environment, granite countertops. We truly put the very best we can into our efforts. Again, it's because of the dignity that that person should have all day long, and the enjoyment. It's somewhat a little bit of like home. It's not one that's like institution. It's not institutional. It's a homey type of environment. And there is a chance to do another sponsorship. Okay, no more said. Okay, there is the office of the program manager. As you can see, it's a two-way window. Of course, this is set up a little different, but as it was really going to be set up, is she'll always be looking out at the floor. Oh, by the way, the program manager is a nurse. We have 2 nurses on the floor at all times. Remember, this is a disease that's progressive, so what it's like today could be different for tomorrow. What kind of medical condition could be advancing at that point in time? There's always eyes on the patient and watching the progression. Of course, it's all recorded and documented in the medical charts and also communicated to the family. That's why we have so few falls. We don't have hardly any falls anymore, and that's why we have so few hospitalizations, because our nurses can tell ahead of time exactly why they're different. What's the color? What's the different? What's the gait? Why is this person not? What is wrong with Emily? She's not the same like she was yesterday. Well, she didn't have a good night's sleep last night. Okay, is that right? Good night's sleep? Okay, what else did we say? Well, I don't know. She's a little bit more edgy today. It's probably because she's got either a urinary tract infection started, or she can almost have a blood clot on her lung, because we found that as well. That's why those eyes are very important. Now this is working into the family nurse consultant. Now the family nurse consultant's office is going to be off on the side because you can come from the outside. You don't have to come into the center, because I call her the spin zone. She's the one who works with the families and finds out exactly what the families are dealing with, what they're needing, what information do they have. The education is always going on all the time. Again, being able to make sure that all resources and services that are appropriate are available to the families. Unfortunately, doctors don't have the time or understanding a lot of times what's going on with the patient and what's going on with themselves as well. You know, we have a very challenged job. We have 2 people we're constantly taking care of. As Bob had said, the risk of losing a caregiver is much higher than losing a patient at a given point in time. But we are fortunate that 90% of our patients last year never went into a nursing home. And we were also able to keep the families connected. Many times we branch out on the families to get them to understand what's going on with mom and dad. So that's what that lady does. That's what that nurse does. Sometimes it's me, a nurse. But so it's very much different from the daycare center. Evaluations going all the time. ID locator bracelet, radio frequency. We have our patients. We actually buy the ID locator bracelets. We actually afford them to our families free of charge. Free of charge. And when there's a patient that has the inclination of wanting to go home, wherever home is, and wanting to, because an Alzheimer's patient is not wandering, they're on a mission. They want to go to where they remember was safe. And so we're constantly having to make sure that that safety is preserved. And the FBI has said that for every patient that's out there lost, that law enforcement has to deal with that for 1 hour, that's costing that agency $1,500. The average time that that person's out there is 9 hours. Well, you add that, that's the financial impact of that, but also, if they're out there 9 hours, what are their chances of finding them and getting them back home? Very, very, very small. Very small. We have been doing the ID locator bracelet. We've served over 800 families since 2013, and every one of them has been found home and safe, and brought home and safe. So it's a very, very, very important project that we do. Alzheimer's Community Care develops solutions. It has integrated services with integrated solutions. That's what we're all about. There we go. It moves again. Wrong button. Ah, another naming opportunity. Anyway, this is our world. This is the world that this building and this project is going to create for your community. And let me just say this other thing. You do have patients and families living in your community. You do. We, like other organizations, can't have poster children. We can't have advertising because all of ours is very, very confidential. 1 in 3 of you in this room are going to be affected by Alzheimer's. 1 in 3, if you're not affected already. So having this kind of grace in your community from Grace Lutheran Church is a blessing. I don't know what more I can say to you to let you all know how important this project is. So now, coming together is a beginning. Keeping together is progress. Working together is success. Henry Ford said that. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary. And I'd like to invite Ed Bach up now. Thank you. And Ed's a member here at Grace, and he's the one that actually told us about Alzheimer's Community Care back almost 2 years ago now, right?
Blame it on me.
Yeah, it's all blame on Ed. So I'd like Ed to just tell his story just a little bit. So here you go, Ed.
In case you're following on the program, I'm guest speaker. My name's Ed Bach. I serve Grace Lutheran Church as an elder. We've been members here for about 8 years. And about 10 years ago, my beautiful wife, sitting over here in the blue shirt, started to forget things. And after a couple of years, she began to forget even more. And then I finally took her to the doctor, talked to the doctor about it, and they gave her the test, and she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. A real shock. What do we do now? Well, the disease progressed to the point where I was a little distraught, right, Mary? And my very good friend from a church that we used to belong to some years ago, Pastor Dave Dangerfield, who's sitting over there, had the foresight of opening a unit at St. Andrew Lutheran Church down in Lima Vista. One of our former members who went there now, Noel, called me and said, "The unit's open, maybe you should check into it." So I went over and went into it. And they said, "Okay, yeah, we'll sign you up, put you on the waiting list." I said, "Well, how big is the waiting list?" And they said, "Well, right now it's at 18. But sometimes it's 25, sometimes it's 10, and we'll notify you when there's an opening." Well, my beautiful wife, that I've been married to for 57 years, was a manicurist when we were first married for one of the most prestigious salons in the Philadelphia area. If anybody's from that area, Jean Madeline was the name, at the Plymouth Meeting Mall. And then later became a Mary Kay sales director, drove a Mary Kay pink car, was on stage 3 times in Dallas at the national conventions, received the car, her directorship, 2 diamond rings as prizes. Very, very vibrant woman. To see her go downhill was really hard. I got to the point where it was, what should we do? So I checked with 2 of the different nursing homes around here where there are memory care units, and almost fell over when they told me how much money it would cost me per month, because I figured out that in a year we'd be bankrupt. So I said, well, there's got to be something else. And when Noel called me, I signed up on that waiting list. And they called me, and it has been the greatest blessing of our lives. Because now Barbara is not going downhill anymore. She's maintaining, she's active, she's remembers things, and I love it. Plus, I get to mow the lawn. Before, I had to be with her 100% of the time. And now I have 8 hours a day that I can go outside and mow the lawn, I can take a nap. This program is outstanding. It is something that I was pleased to tell Grace about, and I'm pleased to tell you about it. Thank you. Pastor?
Thanks, Ed. Thanks so much. It's so I would like to invite questions now. Questions, concerns that you have with the plan. We think we've heard some of them. We've seen some of the letters and things like that. And so so if you would like to ask a question, please raise your hand, and I can give you the stick. Yeah. So remember your name and address. If you want to.
Jack Manana, 354 Southwest Lake Forest Way, Port St. Lucie, Florida. I'm also the president of Lake Forest HOA next door here.
Excellent.
I have several questions. First on the facility, and then several questions on the construction project itself.
Yeah.
First off, is the unit going to be a locked unit?
A locked unit?
Yes.
No. What do you mean by that? Does anyone know anything?
Yes, there's gonna,
Yeah.
let me,
Yeah, their access is limited. The door is locked. To gain access, someone would have to be punched in or otherwise. I mean, let me just state that if you're concerned about these people wandering, that's not an issue out of our facilities. Why? Because of the manner in which we operate them, keep them involved, and, well, but in fact, why don't you and I attend someday this week, go up to St. Andrews, and you can see how they actually operate and how you get inside, how you get out. The doors are locked, okay? When I even go, because I live up in Northern County and have an office towards downtown Fort Pierce. If I go up by St. Andrews for one of our meetings or something, I have to go, hit the pump, pat, and then they have to buzz you in, okay? So it's not like a prison, but access is.
well, let me just say this. Do you know that in a nursing home, do you know how often they have elopement drills? Mandated elopement drills?
The reason why I'm asking is I have a certain question. My wife worked for hospice for 10 years, taking care of dementia house.
Excellent.
But let me just say this about elopement. This is a big deal for me. Okay? How often does the fire drills, when was the last time you saw a fire in a nursing home? Okay? How often do they have fire drills? Every month, 3 shifts, every month. Now, when was the last time you saw a patient from a nursing home leave and found? How often do you read in the paper about patients leaving a nursing home? Pretty often, right? Isn't there not something wrong with our regulations that they should have elopement drills like we do every day? We have a schedule. Every hour, we count who's in that room. Besides, we have the bars on the doors. Now, of course, the fire department comes in and tells us that we can only have that bar working 30 seconds. So we can't rely on that. It has to be through the education and through the training of the staff. So that's how we make sure. Plus, for those patients that are high risk, we have transmitters.
It's before you ask your other one too. one of the things that initially impressed me about their buildings is I went into the Prima Vista location, and they have a wall of an exit door that looks like a pantry shelf. And it's really clever because it's photorealistic. And I was like, what a clever solution that keeps, it keeps the ones that want to test things, from testing right there all the time. And I was like, and I thought it was a very clever solution to pretty difficult problem. So I just wanted to say that. Yeah, you get your next one.
And just one other thing, there's more men now that are being diagnosed with Alzheimer's than I've seen. And I do know we do have a lot of men in the Prima Vista project, right, Dave?
Yes, sure do.
And no problem with anybody eloping, am I right or wrong?
No, there's a code, there's a pad, code pad that you have to put in the correct numbers. It's 4-digit pad, and to be able to get out. And then there's a button you push on the wall to be able to get in there. At least.
Well, that was my question.
Your neighborhood is more at risk than what happens in this building. Okay.
And you also said nurses, LPNs, or RNs?
LPNs. Two.
Two. Any other employees?
Sure. CNAs, they're all licensed. And 1 on 5, by the way.
And then the level of care, first aid, where do you end your level of care?
What do you mean level of care?
Both the stage, first stage, second stage, end stage.
All stages.
So you'll take all stages.
All stages, except when they start getting unsafe. If they need to have 2 or more people to transport, then we have to sort of talk to the family for a decision. But we really, really are able to go a very, very long time. Our average time of our patients in our daycares are anywhere from 2 to 4 years. 2 to 4 years.
So I just want to repeat that for the camera. So you said your name is Jack, right?
Yes.
Jack, and so you asked about the level of care, and she said that it's all up to a point where it takes multiple people to carry it.
That's right. That it makes it unsafe.
Makes it unsafe for them, for staff, and actually other attendees.
I understand the whole thing. And then, as far as patients go, what would be the total daily that you would allow it?
Pardon?
We would
35.
max at 35 because we have found that more than that, because it's important that our staff know each of the individuals in there so that they know where they have been as far as their status and operational and functional and any changes.
However,
Don't take me the wrong way.
No,
I don't think anybody in
We would be
the
licensed.
doesn't know the need for this in the area.
let me just say,
It's true.
just the.
Oh, there's a big need.
We know that.
Tremendous
Can I
need.
just say something?
Now, but we would be licensed. We would be licensed for more than 35. Because if, for instance, this hurricane had come in and knocked out some area along the Treasure Coast, the people from that facility, depending upon distances, we may be able to move them into another so that they don't lose services.
Yeah, we try to be licensed for, if we can be licensed for as high as we can, 30, 45, 50, in some of our daycares. However, we only go, the magic number for us is 35. But like Bob says, unfortunately we get hurricanes. And if a church or something, because ACA, we have to report to ACA, as you know, you're talking about hospice, we have to, any movement we have with patients, so they're allowing us, if we have a license, we're able to bring them to another daycare. We have the 3 daycares now, and all of them are licensed for more than 35, but we're able to serve those families in case of that catastrophe.
So,
Yeah, 35 is our magic
so
number.
30, so just
Why is
repeat.
our 35 a magic number? Why is the 35 a magic number?
Because it's easier to handle.
Because we know the disease progresses in every one of those instances, and our staff knows those patients
Inside and out.
inside.
Just so the camera can hear, it's 35. It's 35 people is the magic number, but we like to certify for 45 or something like that, just in case there's a catastrophe. And yeah, that was just a document. Did you have another question?
On a facility, no.
That not in a facility? I mean, you can ask anything right
Not
now.
on a facility, but on the plans itself under construction.
Yeah, go for it.
Why do you want an exemption to the wall?
So, that's a good question. That's a good question. And that's the
Very
big,
good question.
that's the big one while we're here and stuff like that.
Okay, I'll ask.
So that's the big one while we're here. And we want to talk to you guys about the exemption to the wall. I think the number one reason is we're not building up against the edge of our property or up against homes. If we put a wall over here, we couldn't see it. Like that's because there's so much natural Port St. Lucie that's over here, right? Now we are close to the side there, and here's what I want you. I passed out for everyone at the church. There's people from the church here, and this form right here, and that's I made this, with some aerial photography I was able to get. Yeah, that's it. And people that aren't part of the church have this right here. And I want you to see something. We were thinking about the homes behind us when we were planning this out. We were thinking about those homes because Port St. Lucie requires us to have a certain percentage of our lot when we build on it marked as preserve. And if you can tell, what we did is when they told us how much we needed to do, we put it in the back of our property, but we had a jetty out. Now, do you see what that jetty is actually protecting? There's a home down there. There's a home right there. And we didn't want, we had to put this preserve anyway. We might as well put it in that back corner of our lot up to where that home won't have to worry. And sometime in the future, we could buy that back, but it's expensive to buy that preserve back. And over there, but it's that there is protecting that. And the building is also not being built on the north side up against the water. It's being built on the bottom side, the south side, where there isn't anything.
Well, it's my property, my house.
Well, that's
I'm to be quite honest with you, that preserve's not protecting anything.
that preserve's not protecting it. What's it not protecting?
The trespassers that you constantly allowed to walk through your property on my property to go fishing away.
Okay, I want to talk to you about that. So,
You never had before.
I didn't know about it.
Well, over the years that, you have not been a very good neighbor, to be quite honest with you.
Well, no,
We've come over and
Yeah.
tried to be neighborly and address the issue. My
Yeah.
property manager, former property manager, Howard DeCosta, come over and tried
Yeah.
to talk things out, and he was told to leave your office.
So when
And so does the same.
when
Our
was
signs
that?
have been pulled out and thrown in the lake for no trespassing.
When-
You've allowed people to park here and walk through and come into our community.
So when did that happen?
Ongoing since I've lived here 15 years.
It happened this week. I have a house right here,
Yeah,
and I'm here to tell you,
yeah,
you get a lot of people, and there's a lot of big fish in this pond.
yeah.
And I saw a couple this week, this
So-
weekend.
But we don't control the pond.
So
We don't own the pond. And
You
you can build a wall
You
over
control,
there.
you control the access.
Here, hold on. So
That would stop the access.
here's what I learned.
We're legally not objecting to the exemption.
So here's what I want to tell you what I've learned this week. I've been here 3 years. I haven't been communicated to once by the HOA or the police in 3 years. All right? I can only discuss me. I talked to other folks at this church, and they don't remember a time. I'm sorry that you were kicked out of the office here. I had no plan of that. This is also what I learned. I lived in St. Lucie West for 2 years. I've been here 3 years, like I said. I lived in here 2 years. I had no idea that it was illegal to fish in the park. I didn't know. And because there's no signs that say no fishing.
There's signs that say no trespassing, that the people you're allowed to park here, pull the signs out and throw them in the water.
So here, hold on.
Me over there laughing, I think is a fool.
Well, hey.
He's a fool. Sit there to laugh at this?
No. They're
This is supposed to be a
not.
business.
Have you seen the individual pull the signs out and throw them in the water?
Yeah, so.
And did you call the police?
Absolutely.
And what did they say?
They come out, talk to the guys, tell them they can't fish here, they gotta leave.
Do you expect the church to post a guard there 24 hours a day?
No, if you see people that don't belong here, ask them to leave.
That's what, here, let me
Just
tell
go
you.
ahead.
I'm telling you what I've learned. I'm the pastor here. This is my turf. And like all that stuff. And I found out this last week, well, 2 weeks ago, all of a sudden I want to be a good neighbor. Okay? I want to be a good neighbor. You can tell we want to be a good neighbor. And all of a sudden I get all kinds of letters from the city, and it showed a blank spot in us. And I went, oh no. And I went, is it illegal to fish in the lake? Because I used to live in Lake Forest Point. And there was a guy with a line in that pond behind the Walmart neighborhood market there all the time. There are guys that are in the little pond back here all the time. I bank at Bank of America, and there were guys in that lake with a line in there all the time. And I didn't think, yeah, don't get on people's private property. But as far as I understood, as someone who was new to the area, our property went up to the lake. But I've learned stuff. I've learned that is St. Lucie Service District land.
Not all of it.
Yeah.
On the back east side of yours is Lake Forest property.
Just right up here by the road. No, that's St. Lucie Service.
No.
Oh, on the back side over there.
On the east side.
Yeah, the east side. Yeah, that's your guys' preserve.
South side is us,
Yeah,
east side is us,
Yeah.
Lake Forest, and we have an open space on the north side.
yeah, exactly. All right, yeah. So we're over there, and as soon as I found out about that, I was like, oh, we've been in the wrong. And so I'm prepared. I haven't done it yet. We had a hurricane. But I'm going to put some no fishing signs over here. And so I'm completely prepared to do that. I now realize that it's illegal. And I kicked fishermen out today.
Thank you.
Today. Like and we want to be a good neighbor, right? And I told the guys, I was like, hey guys, like it's illegal to fish in the pond. And you can't, if you're gonna come and fish, you can't be on our property. Like, if you need just a place to sit for a second and think and contemplate, sure, it's our property, right? But you can't fish and park here. And I told them that, because I want to be a good neighbor, right? And I realized that was an oversight, and that was on us. And I apologize to them. And so, like, it was, yeah, I don't know what more I could do on that. So it's our policy now to let people know that they can't fish. And we're going to put up a sign.
Did you also know that the paperwork submitted to the city has an inaccuracy in it?
Do what?
That the paperwork for the plans, for the construction plans are inaccurate as far as where the open space properties are?
I don't know what you mean.
The city code requires that if an institutional lot abuts open space, you must build an architectural wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. The paperwork only says north and south. There's open space to the east.
No, east is your preserve.
No, it's not.
Yeah, part of the city it is.
No, it's not. I pointed out to the city.
So
We have a spot of open space.
so you want it all the way around?
So you would need a wall on 3 sides.
So let's yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. So here's why we don't want to build a wall. And I'll let you guys answer this. How much do you think the wall would cost?
I have no idea.
I want you to guess. How much do you think the wall would cost?
I don't think you have. I think you know.
I do know. I want you to guess that. We're talking a minimum is $140,000, and it's probably $200,000. You're talking 15% of total bill.
Probably more expensive than the building.
It's not more expensive than the building, but we would have to clear an unbelievable amount of land,
Natural flora.
of natural land that's not going to get touched. We have to clear a lot of it just to build a wall. Yeah, like, and it's going to be right there. It's going to clear a lot of land. I mean, we're going to have to pull a new environmental study. Yeah, and you're talking, because think about it. We're not building at all on the north side. We're putting in a swell, and this, And the swell isn't marked on here, but the swell is coming behind the building, and then it comes up to here, to our existing swell. There's one in there. Everything behind the swell is natural, not getting touched. Everything on the north end, except for 2 spots on the end of our driveway, our parking spots, aren't getting touched. It's all natural. It's the same thing that's there right now. And so we're adding a swell, but everything else is, it's a pretty spot over there. Like, I don't, the wall, it's not, I don't think it would be, I think it would damage that pretty spot. Like, you would have, our property goes right up to the edge. You know how when you're looking at the lake and you look up and it goes up and then it levels? Our property is right where it levels. And that's right where that wall would be. So like that lake would lose the green. It'd be a wall and then trees behind it. And I just, it's expensive because we're all about the care here. We're all about the care. And we don't have unlimited money.
About the safety, like,
Yeah.
people trespassing through your property onto our property.
Well, I want to help that though. But I don't know if
Wall, anybody that gets out, will come to the property, the wall.
I appreciate you having that mic, by the way. Mike, I appreciate it. And that, well, here, someone else from your community wants to talk. Is that okay? Like that's, here, can you get the microphone?
I actually live at the very point of Long Key Court.
Yeah.
And I'm concerned, I don't want a wall, honestly.
Okay.
I think it'd be ugly. By this proposed project, and the first thing I thought was, I don't want a wall.
Yeah.
I'm very glad that you're thinking of preserving the green space, because
Yeah.
that would affect my view. A wall doesn't. It would look institutionalized, it would look like you're against the commercial property instead of against the beautiful, preserve. So I prefer that way. The only concern I have was that in the future, and I talked to you about this last
Yeah,
week,
we talked
my
about
concern was that maybe someday in the future it would be converted into like a drug rehab type place.
Yeah.
And that's my concern. I'm fine leaving it with no wall as long as in the future it doesn't get converted.
So
into something else.
yeah.
I was just going to say, it's a 30-year lease with ACC
Okay.
for the facility. So they
So
have a
it'd be
stake
a long
in it.
time.
It'd be a long time before it was converted over.
So as far as
With an
an
option
option,
of another 30 years.
Well, yeah, here. Well, let's, he had his hand up next, and then, just remind me, okay? Remember name and address.
Michael Byrd, I live right next to her.
Oh, okay.
I absolutely do not want to walk.
Okay. All right.
and I
Is it
spoke
for
to
the same
my
reason
neighbor
she
on the
said?
other side.
Yes.
And she also said she didn't want a wall, and the lady across the street, 3 houses down, I talked to her and she has.
And you don't want to walk, are you back here too? Okay, you're right there. All right, what's your address?
635.
635? Long Key, okay. So it's, we have neighbors that are saying they don't want it.
Well, neighbor do it 639 Long Key.
So 639 Long Key?
Put up the wall, and in 2-3 years, you won't even see
Here,
that
can you get a
wall.
little closer? Yeah, can you say that again? We couldn't hear it.
The wall up there, you're not gonna see a wall for 10 years, it's gonna be the same. But in 2-3 years, you won't even know there's a wall there because there'll be a lot of foliage.
It'll be ugly.
It's, I mean, say, look, service district has to clean it.
I've been in construction, don't clear a whole line of the wall.
Well,
Talking to the microphone.
so can I let her talk? Yeah.
I just have a question.
What, here, you gotta use the mic.
Address.
And name and address.
I'm Linda Gannon, I've been a member of Grace here, my husband and I for 3 or 4 years. I just don't get the picture, I can't picture if you have a wall on 3 sides. Why can't these people, if they really want to trespass and fish in your lakes, they can walk around the wall and go through the preserve to get to the fishing pond? So a wall on 3 sides, to me, doesn't make sense. You just keep walking and walking and walking around.
But it has a deterrent, first off, to those people, and secondly, as much as they are a secure facility and have those bracelets, it'll keep a patient from wandering that way instead of that way.
Your neighborhood is more dangerous than what's going to. You've got patients in your neighborhood. You have patients in your neighborhood.
Guarantee, right?
I will. I have no problem. That your community is safer.
Will be held liable if something happens to one of your patients on that project.
It wouldn't happen anyway. It wouldn't happen anyway.
But the writing of the rest of the name insurance. And the bottom,
It doesn't.
actually, there's the law.
Yeah.
The bottom line is, we don't want to spend the money at all.
No, we don't.
You're right, we don't.
No, we don't. That is the bottom line.
One statement I think we do need to make sure is you're looking at this map. You see the preserve area. This part right here is yours.
Lake Forest.
You guys own it.
Lake Forest.
Let me ask something. If fishing's been so bad, why hasn't your HOA put a wall on your property?
We're not improving the property, you are. Why?
But no, if it's been a problem,
Why are we?
why haven't you put?
So let's.
That's as a thought process.
Yeah. Well,
It's
it's.
not the cause of the trespassers, this property is.
The trespassers are the cause of the
All
trespass.
right. Yeah.
My name is Tom DePola.
Tom DePola.
I live at 417 Southwest Charleston. Yep, see where your finger is?
Right here?
2 more houses.
This one?
What, 2 more?
Right here? Yeah, all right.
In answer to that gentleman's question, the trespassers are not coming from our side. So it would be from this side. All these years have been a problem, before your time.
Yeah.
Okay, and that problem is trespassing and the problem with people jumping in the lake, falling in the lake, going into the lake for whatever reason and constantly fishing. There's nothing wrong with fishing, it's the trespassing. However, here's where we're going a little astray here. I don't think there's anybody in this room that doesn't understand the need, the urgency, and the compassion that's necessary for what you're proposing. I don't think there's anybody here.
Yeah.
If there's somebody here that disagrees with that, they should raise their hand. I give it back to them.
Yeah.
Okay?
I
So now we got
appreciate you
that.
saying that.
We got that out of the way.
Yeah.
The problem here is that you and other Lutheran churches, I hear what you've said, have done this, and you also see it as a business situation, and you partner with these folks. They're very anxious to get going on it, maybe a little too anxious and a little too overselling. So we gotta calm down on the overselling of it. We're not fighting with this lady. People are just asking questions.
Yeah.
So here's what I think. I think that we're not, the people of the community here, and in some cases, agree with the wall and don't agree with the wall. It's not for the community that's asking you to build the wall. The city is. The wall is a mandated situation for the building of this enterprise, business enterprise. The city is saying you need a wall. You are saying you don't want to build a wall, and you very honestly came right out and said it's expensive.
It is.
It's a very expensive.
It's up there.
But everything, when you start a business, it's always, there's a certain amount of outlay of money, okay? So if you're not ready to outlay that money, then you have to give the city a reason. Other than that, it's too much money. Not these folks here. There's no way that they can stop you from building because you have the property and you have the permit, et cetera, et cetera. But you need to comply. If you didn't comply anywhere else, I would like to hear about that. If you don't comply anywhere else where you build with these things, then maybe you have a precedent to talk about. But nobody here wants to be laughed at. Nobody here wants to be shouted at or bullied, okay?
Well, I'm sorry if you felt bullied.
No,
We have-
I don't feel bullied, I don't get bullied.
Well,
But
well,
here's, my last words here on the subject is, explain in some real detail why you shouldn't comply with the rules and the law, especially after a long history of trespass.
Well, it isn't to prevent trespassing. The wall ordinance is for aesthetics, and it started actually over 30 years ago down along Port St. Lucie Boulevard, long before St. Lucie West was even envisioned, okay? Because of Port St. Lucie being laid out by Mackel Brothers and GDC with just tens of thousands of single-family residences and virtually no commercial. So they created the ROI, residential, office, and institutional, along Port St. Lucie Boulevard. And in order to separate, they only made it half a block deep. Not maybe very long-term good planning, but that's what they did. So to separate that, they started this. Then over the years, it's expanded and it's expanded. We're seeking not to build a wall, but under a provision of Port St. Lucie's code for enhanced landscaping. Because the purpose is a so-called buffer. Now, if you really believe, aesthetically, a wall, 6-foot-high wall, is a better buffer than natural native vegetation, that's fine. You can go to Fort Lauderdale and see exactly how it works. But the city has a code, and there are some instances where they have not required a wall. There are a number of instances right along St. Lucie West Boulevard where you have commercial businesses right up against residential areas with the enhanced buffers, without walls. Now, the cost, and especially talking out back, if you're on the east line as well, I think that would take it up to about 1,600 or 1,700 linear feet of wall. And in order to get trucks back there, along even the pond here, because we can't drive on the districts, you're going to need to clear a minimum of 10 foot wide, probably closer to 12 to 15 foot wide, of native vegetation. The footprint for that clearing, especially if all the way across the back, is going to be 3 or 4 times larger than the clearing required for the footprint of the building. And, if you're familiar with Florida vegetation, much of those pine trees that actually provide the visual buffer to a 30-foot building will not survive and die. And how long will it take for vegetation to recreate beyond that? And if the wall's built on the line, are you going to put vegetation so that these neighbors aren't looking at a 6-foot-high wall for a decade or two?
The wall wouldn't be on the wall.
Where would it be?
It requires city requirements.
And which is what? Which is what?
Look it up.
Yeah. And no vegetation. Vegetation would only have to be on one side. I don't have it right in front of me. Okay? But it's not, it's pretty close to the line.
It's 5 foot.
It's 5 foot?
5 foot. So, okay, so we're going to be clearing 15 to 20 feet. Now, that's really what your community wants to see.
No,
You know.
because you get a person who subcontract that out the wall, you gotta put in that contract that he has to restore.
No? Only what the code would call for. Restore what? The vegetation would not be anywhere near as dense.
The other 20 feet that you're talking about.
No.
Me, no.
They wouldn't have to restore it. They would put in landscaping, but it would be sparse, like down the street
It's not in the contract.
at the other church.
If it's in the contract, then he has to do it.
Well, if it's in the contract, but it isn't. It isn't code required. It would not be code required. Right.
Well, we really think it would be an eyesore and expensive. And like you have residents in your neighborhood that don't want it. And why do you guys want it so bad? Why do you guys want us to spend that money so bad?
I have to speak for 700 homes, not 3 or 4.
Well, why aren't they here speaking for the...
So the 3 or 4.
Because I'm here.
So the 3 or 4 doesn't matter.
I'm here representing.
So anyway, that was a bad thing for me to say. I have one guy who wants to.
And I already know why he was that.
We absolutely represent the community.
Right, he doesn't have anything written.
Okay, here's,
Hey, shh, everyone, please don't. This is
here's a
respectful.
situation. Some years ago, I was general chairman of a building committee at St. Andrew Lutheran Church to build a parish center. There's no big woods around St. Andrew. It's all open. I went, which I'm not allowed to do in your community, from door to door, up the side of the property, across the swale, canal or whatever that one is called, and went house to house and explained to each person that the city wanted a wall. How do you feel about it? Each person that was affected by that signed a petition stating that they didn't want a wall. The people that were affected by it didn't want it, so the city did not make us put up a wall. I don't know how to do that in your community because I'm not allowed to go in your gate.
Why did the city mention a wall to us?
Never did.
They never did, and they approved everything, and they
Yeah.
never mentioned a wall.
Yeah, thank you for asking for that.
I'm not going to name names, but for my residents that maybe weren't living here at the time, we had a project abutting our property that required the wall. The residents that lived there said they didn't want the wall. So we backed our residents and supported what they wanted, a landscape buffer.
Mhm.
Once the landscape buffer was built, all we received from the residents was that person is not taking care of what they said they would take care of.
Mhm.
Then it falls upon my shoulders and the rest of my board members sitting here to argue with the property owner to come on my side of the property to maintain their buffer. It
Yeah.
took 7 months to do so.
Yeah. Well, did you have a maintenance contract with them?
It's not, I don't have a maintenance, I have my own maintenance contract with my own landscape.
Yeah, but when they built the landscape buffer, did you have a
It's in the
contract?
city paperwork that they are to maintain landscaping on my side of the landscape.
Oh, it was on your side?
We're talking about my side.
So here's
So
what I think.
hindsight being what it is it took, and don't get me wrong, it took a while because of issues with manpower and the landscaper, not the fault of the client that we were dealing with. But when we finally, after weeks and weeks and weeks of hearing these residents complain about the condition of the landscaping and so on and so forth, when they finally did come over and did what exactly we asked that our residents was pushing us to get them to do, 3 days later, they're in our office crying because they could now see the building. Because they came in and cleaned it up.
Yeah.
So we're in a catch-22 situation. A wall eliminates that. From
So
our standpoint, a wall eliminates that.
so it would have been better the way that it
And
was.
hindsight being it is, should have been a wall.
So, okay. So, like, I want to talk about that.
See our building.
I want to talk about that. Hey, thanks again for always grabbing that. This is sunlight. This is Lake Forest here. This is what you're talking about, right? And I think, but the difference between us and them is, like, we don't have anything coming close to homes. Like, it's a wall. If we built a wall, it would affect more of your home's values than it would here. Like, that's a parking lot. It's right there. And I went over, like, you should have seen me laugh. Because when I got your letter from the city, they sent it to us too. And I was like, what's this guy talking about with sunlight? And we pulled up this, we're like, oh, I bet you anything, that's it right there. And I went over there and shot a picture, and I was like, what in the world is going on over here? And so that's, when you look at, when I pull up our aerial, it doesn't look like that. Like there's no, this is the only one that comes close to touching. This is the only one. And we, before, when did we have the preserve locked down? What month? May? Something like that? I'm looking for people that would know. And I'm getting blank faces. I'm getting blank faces. May, like March, like it was early on that we locked this preserve down. And if you look at this preserve, it's an obvious shape for an obvious reason. It's because this land is here. We did this because this home, because we knew that it would be a long time before we built back here. Now, when we build again, we'll talk about a wall and stuff like that. We'll talk about that because you know what? Maybe we expand like crazy. As a pastor with an ego trip, I'd love that, you know? But that's, and you know, and maybe we need to expand our parking lot all the way up here. Yeah, we should probably do a wall then. Sorry, that was my fault. Hey, we should probably do a wall then, you know? But there's nothing, like, you guys have, what is this, 20 feet down here? And then that's St. Lucie Service District right there.
On the south of us, yes.
Yeah, like that was supposed to be Flamingo Drive. And Lake Forest didn't put it in. Yeah, the builder, like, you know, like, that was supposed to be a road back there. Oh, and by the way, there's a no trespassing sign on our property right here. So that's a Lake Forest no trespassing sign on our property. But that's fine. That's fine. Hold on. It's still there.
See, Pastor, the more I listen to you,
Yeah.
the more I think that you were ill-advised. And by that I mean,
I'm
not ill-advised.
Oh, ill-advised.
Your intentions are
You said
excellent.
televised. I was like,
Your intentions are excellent.
okay.
And we all know we're
Yeah.
good intentions sometimes. Go.
Well, we all have
I
that.
think you were not advised properly by the folks that you're partnering with who are so strong in their beliefs that they didn't tell you to personally meet with the folks over at your neighbors, because your predecessors never did that, and get to the point with them long before you had this meeting, which you were forced to have after the people objected.
So
why didn't those folks tell you to do that?
have you looked at, have you,
Yourself there and meet these folks.
so
Tell them your opinion.
So, I'm gonna tell you why. This is my first building project, right? It's my first building project. A lot of people in this church, like Ed talked about it, but that's like, in other words, we've done other things, but we were trying to do everything above board. That's what we try to do here. And there was an accusation in one of the letters that talked about how the police were called all the time, and it was really like a detriment to the police. So I pulled up the records. For trespassing stuff, there hasn't been a call in 2 years. And that's as far back as they go.
As to whoever told you that
The city records.
is terribly uninformed, or they don't keep a record.
Or they don't keep a record. Or they don't keep a
I
record.
myself have called officers.
Well, did you? What time? And did you call it on our property, or did you call it for somewhere else?
No, they were trespassing through
So trespassing through what?
your property.
Onto
onto
our
our
All right, they're not-
Behind the houses.
They're not marking the address correct. Because I pulled it up yesterday, and it just wasn't there.
I believe
So
it.
that's
But that
so
doesn't
that's
mean that the police
yeah.
didn't come.
So
They come, but
so that's a good correction though. But here's my question though.
they run back through your property when the police come through the Lake Forest.
So but listen to what I'm telling you. I'm here to be an advocate for you, to be on this, on your side on this. And I'm willing to do that. And listen, I did not know. I see your hand. I see your hand. I did not know. And I talked to other people at this church. We did not know. I talked to the St. Lucie Water District guy on the phone because he wrote a letter.
Yeah.
And I called him and I said, I didn't know it was illegal. Like that's, why don't you put a no fishing sign out there? You know what he told me? He said, we can't. I'm like, what do you mean you can't? Sure, you can put a no fishing sign out there. And he goes, no, only Fish and Wildlife can do that. I'm like, well, ask Fish and Wildlife to do it. Like call up Glenn and Fish and Wildlife and get them to put a sign up there. And he goes, they won't do it. I was like, why won't they do it? Because they don't view it as worthy of their time. Because they probably think it's petty. But the trespassing thing isn't petty. And that's why there's no trespassing signs around. I'm telling you that we are willing to commit to that position. Because that seems to be what you guys really want. Right? And we're willing to work with you on that. But, I don't understand why you want to be the detriment to the value of the homes around you when we're not abutting any of it except this one. And we put a freaking preserve over here. The savannas are right here, you know? And there's going to be a swell that comes just like this, comes right over there, and we're not touching anything on this side of the swell. It's all natural. Like that's...
I don't think the people of the community is stopping your project. I think the city wants you to...
No,
we got an exemption.
But it's only for the camera.
Oh, okay. Okay, so from my understanding, you're not touching that natural area along the lake.
No, not on the north side. The only thing we're touching, we are touching part of it. There's a swell that's going to be put in here. That's going to come to this point right here.
Okay.
And that's all that's getting touched. Everything on this side of the swell, we're adding we're adding 4 parking spots to this, so it'll come up just a little bit right here, but all of this is going to stay. Everything here is going to stay except for just a little bit of activity right here, and just we're moving this up, basically 2 spaces up.
So there's no maintenance because it's going to look exactly like it does right now, pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay. My other point is, yes, you have been bad neighbors because you
Yeah.
have. I've told a million fishermen to stop being in my backyard, and they tell me specifically the
Yeah.
pastor told them they could.
If they were in your
And
backyard, they
so,
should
yeah,
have been
and they
there.
are. They're in my backyard.
Like, they shouldn't have been there.
So, but now it seems like you know about the issue, so stop telling them they can. And
Oh, man, I have.
so maybe
Believe me.
instead of an ugly concrete wall, the solution would be to maybe put up like a wood fence, like, you know, like a crossrail kind of fence, like you have for keeping horses out, like it kind of in the woods. Just so
Oh,
people
like
kind of see, like it would be a lot cheaper.
Like you're talking like Smoky Mountains type?
Yeah, kind of that kind of thing, just so you see, look,
That's an interesting
don't
idea.
just walk over there, you know,
Yeah.
because they can just come up over the swell. They can get in
Yes,
there.
stuff like that.
I've walked over the swell onto the sidewalk to go, you know, walk my dogs up to the street. So people can get in. We're not that secure a community, but
Yeah.
you know, the thing is, if they think that the church thinks it's okay, if you have a fence there
And that's-
with no fishing signs on it, then the church will be pretty clearly communicating it's not okay anymore.
And you gotta understand
And
my
historically, they
position.
think it's okay.
I thought this was our land all the way up to here. I now realize that it's not. Like, and so I told them, I was like, I don't care if you're on our land. Like, and stuff like that. Now, if they're walking across over to yours and down the end,
Yeah, they'll
That's
come
not-
all the way up
that's-
to the point. They'll
yeah,
be
that's
fishing
not-
all the way up to the point, and they leave trash all the way along.
Yeah.
Which I
and
end
as
up
soon,
going
and when
along
I talked to you on the phone and I was like, they're leaving trash
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff, and I was like, that's not cool. Like, and actually, I've noticed that with a few times here recently when I've been mowing the lawn, that I was like, what's going on here? And so I've actually had some negative feelings towards it myself here recently. Then we started getting all the letters in, and I realized I was being a bad neighbor, and I want to be a good one.
It's not so much, you know, people have an issue because they live closer. It's also an issue, it's not just there, that corner of them fishing.
Yeah.
It's that they'll migrate from there
Yeah.
That's the biggest issue.
So can you repeat that?
The problem so much isn't if they were just fishing right in where the red square is, in that area, is that most of them will then migrate throughout. I mean, I'm all the way on the other side of the neighborhood, and they'll walk from there into my backyard.
Yeah. So my commitment to you right now is for us to take an active role. That we haven't taken an active role.
We, over the years, from your standpoint, being the church, you may not like this idea, but over the years, we've had kids come in that don't live in Lake Forest, they'll follow somebody in, they'll park at one of the pools, and they'll walk around, and they'll, with backpacks, and they'll be fishing. And believe it or not, several years ago, when we had the Sheriff Mascara in, the leading cause of break-ins are people walking around backyard pretending they're fishing, when they're actually casing your house.
Okay.
So don't allow anybody to walk around your neighborhood that doesn't live there. Well, we have cameras everywhere, around our pools and our entranceways.
Yeah.
I kept seeing the same group of kids constantly coming in, checking cars and plate numbers.
Yeah.
Finally, one after beating them, telling them, listen, you're on private property, you're not allowed to fish in the retention ponds, and they're owned by St. Lucie West, so on and so forth, and leave. And by the third time they came back, fine, they took off, the cars were here, they were over by Home Depot fishing, I picked up the phone, tow boys, I got 4 cars for you to tow on private property.
Yeah.
I had 2 cars, never came back.
Yeah. So, and they were here?
No, I mean, they were on my property.
Okay, yeah.
I had them towed out of here.
So can I make a deal with you?
And they never came back.
Can I make, like, that I can give you my phone number? And like, if there's anything going on that's starting off on our property, that you can call, text is usually pretty good for me. Like, and that's, you know, it's like, hey, there's stuff going on. And then I can make a phone, because we found out something else was going on our property from the guy across the street over here. And so I have a deal with him now too, because again, I want to be a good neighbor.
Biggest issue with people that don't belong to the church coming and trespassing is the top left corner.
Yeah, up here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, right.
So I told someone that was parked, they were parked in the shade right here today, to get out of there. Today. I did that 3 days ago too. And all that stuff. Like that's, I've been active on this. I've been active on this. And like, I think that's how you're gonna solve it. I don't think it's gonna be me being unactive. You know? Like that's.
We've had more in the past hour than we have in the past 10 years.
Well, that's, and listen. I don't know what happened in the past year. Like, if you can tell, like, sounds like I'm tooting my own horn right here. Here, let me tell it like this. Mary and I get along for this reason alone. She and I were at, what was the restaurant? The one over at, behind Home Depot off of Gap, whatever that restaurant, Miller's. We're over there, and she said, she goes, people who don't love other people don't tend to stick around me long. Something like, I think that's what you said, something like that. People who don't care about other folks, something like that. And she was talking about, I think you're talking about like a business thing kind of sour.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I am too. We wanted to build a building
But here's
so
the
bad.
good thing too.
Yeah.
We're gonna be there at 7:30 in the morning. This is gonna be a little more activity.
Yeah.
And if I see something, or if there's something that, if the staff sees something different, we're gonna report it to you.
Yeah.
So the security level is gonna be a little higher because of the activity of us being there. And the police are gonna pay a little more attention because of the fact that we'll be there.
Yeah, but you're not gonna be there Saturday and Sunday.
Well,
And that's a lot.
okay.
So I'm usually here Saturday night.
Oh, there's here Sunday, that's right, there's church. Oh, so we go Saturday, we gotta work on Saturday.
I'm just trying to say,
Yeah.
that people want to fish, they'll fish on the weekend because they're working, okay?
Yeah.
That's basic.
People are gonna fish it.
Well, and what I want to say is I want to have an active role in this. And I'm willing to give your HOA president, I'm willing to give you my communication. Like, is that, like, I'm trying to come your way on this. Because I really, I think that the wall would be an eyesore, and it's expensive. And that's, and the code really, like, we had a full drawn up plans from the city that the city deemed acceptable. And we notified you guys. Sure, we should have talked sooner. I now know that. Believe me, next time we do a building project, yeah, you guys are getting notified probably a week before the notice goes out. I don't know, I'm messing around with this. We'll figure out what to do though, because I'm figuring this out too. And so I just want to be a good neighbor to you guys. And I just don't think a wall is that. Like, I don't think you requesting it is a good neighbor either. Like, in that's, and for us.
We haven't requested.
Yes, you have.
Yes.
No, what we're asking you to do
Yeah.
is comply with the rules.
We already got an exemption from that.
No, we have a full landscape plan approved by the city.
It's a judicial proceeding by law.
Yeah, so we have to get that final approval. Like, that's over there, so it hasn't been finally approved, you know? And you guys are a big part of it. All right, thank you for coming, by the way. And thank you for taking my call when I called. So that's kind of what we're asking for. Like, we've gotten, our landscape plan is approved by planning and zoning. It's ready to go. We've thought about all of this. We have extra landscaping coming in down here, close to the back side of the building, and you can tell, remember that when we're walking through the building on there, all the windows face the back end of this thing. So that's going to be pretty back there. We want it to be pretty back there. It's not like it's the back end of a building, you know? And we want to make it, a real pretty place for families and things like that. But then we have the swell, and we want it to be natural behind the swell. Because let me tell you about Thaddeus. All right, can I tell you about Thaddeus? Phil, can you click on Thaddeus, the turtle?
Tortoise.
The tortoise. Tortoise. So Thaddeus, this is Thaddeus. He's our gopher tortoise. He's like our mascot around here. There's more pictures of this dumb tortoise than anything else around here because people love him, and he hangs out with us. Like, look how close I am to him. Like, look at that. He may have been hissing and angry, but he wasn't like going into his shop. We have people that love Thaddeus. We love people that love the outdoors here and love nature here. And we have spent a lot of money on a good environmental study to make sure that Thaddeus doesn't get run over by a bulldozer or anything else. We went above and beyond on that so that we could have a beautiful place so this guy can be safe. We're going to fence him off in the preserve during the build so he doesn't get hurt, right? So we want him to be safe. And we want the environment around here to be beautiful. And we want your properties to be beautiful. We want this all to be beautiful. And I hope that we can live up to what I'm talking about right now.
Did your study tell you about the eagles that are nesting in the trees?
Yeah, they did. There's eagles that come around here occasionally, and they're not nesting. Yeah, like that's, and they're in the back of the property. In
So
the
they were
preserve.
destroyed, right?
But we paid for an amazing environmental study to study all this. Like it's.
This is my personal opinion tonight.
Yeah.
You've made an excellent impression.
What?
Unfortunately, your partners.
No, I'm sorry.
They may have seen their worst side, but they have not acted like they're going to be very great neighbors. Period.
Well, that's hold on. Like I'm sorry that you felt that way because that hasn't been my thing. But I'm also the pastor here. All right. Well, that's right. I'm also the pastor here. And what I say tends to have a big go here. Okay? Like what some days.
Yeah, what's going
But what I it's over here. So I know that the people used to not respect what happened out there and think, because that's what I was told. They're like, oh, fishermen come in there all the time. As soon as I found out, emails went out and people were talked to, and now everyone knows what to do. Okay? Okay? Good. And that's how things roll. Okay? And so I want that. And so you may think I'm duped, and you're saying that I'm stupid every time you say that. Yeah, you are.
Well, that's your impression.
Yeah, it is my impression.
Well, that's your
And so I don't like that. And so, but what I want to do is I want to be a good neighbor to you and to everyone else. So let's we have a great landscaping plan. You can see it in the back. You can look at it in all of its glory. You can see it, and it's been approved by planning and zoning. It just has to get city council approval right now. And if you guys say, let's go for it, we can do it. Now, if we want to talk about it, then let's meet. And let's talk about it. See if we can come to some, if we can't come to an agreement, then we roll the dice or something. I don't know, that's just how this stuff goes, Like, I'm a pragmatic guy. But I want you to go, I'm here for you guys too. But I don't, it's hard. It's hard, it's due to do some of this. And I know you're saying that you're not stopping this, that you want just the code. We've abided by all the codes written in the book. And you guys just want us to go back to that. And I can't abide by it. But all we're doing is yelling now. Not yelling. We're not getting anywhere. So we should. So yeah, we can talk with Jack and stuff like that. And we'll work it out. Can we work it out? Can we? Because he says we'll work it out. He said we'll work it out. And so I would like to work it out with you. Talk to me after the meeting, if we can do that. So it's, is there any other questions or concerns? I want everyone's voice to be heard and all of that stuff. Yeah. You can say your name again, please.
Michael Berg, 651 Long Peak Court. I absolutely do not want a wall across the estuary for me. It would hurt my property values, and it definitely would hurt my view.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. Thank you. So when we talk, let's take into consideration those views too.
Question?
Yeah.
I don't have the answer to it.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about a wall is going to reduce your property value. Has a real estate study been involved, and have you done one on whether or not, and nothing negative, it's just a question.
Yeah.
Is that this building facility is going to negatively affect our property values?
Is the building?
And the facility that you put
We
in?
haven't done a study globally like that.
Actually, Dawn would have been a good person to ask that to.
Yeah, she would have, I can't imagine it would negatively affect you because it's...
And I personally can't see a wall negatively affecting somebody's property, or the wall's 120 yards away.
Well, I mean, it would just hit that's all they would see across that lake.
In 3 years, you can see.
Yeah, but you will. And so, that's it.
Mom and I both agree that's terrible.
Yeah. That's...
And we live right next to each other.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind.
Somebody with a wall right behind her house, right there.
Oh, so
Keep it in mind. Ron and I both agree, don't put it there.
the wall would go, I think I have, there it is. A wall would, what the request tonight was for a wall that would come from the edge of Cashmere, all the way following, our property begins at the top of the berm, comes all the way to this little jetty thing right here, straight back in here, then follows our property comes right up to the tree line, and then goes straight through the all the way kind of in the middle of the road kind of section here, all the way to right there, and that's where they're requesting the wall.
That whole area
Yeah,
would be the wall.
yeah,
And they can still come in and walk around.
yeah, and that's and we've already talked about that. So I think we should be done. Like, we're not getting anywhere now. And so, and my voice is going, and when my voice goes, I just don't know what to do.
I just want to say one thing. On behalf of Alzheimer's Community Care,
Thank you.
I feel bad that my passion and my caring came off differently. I feel bad about that. So I don't want you, on behalf of the patients and families that we serve, and the fact that what we want to do here, and this beautiful building has got to add a lot to the value of your community and your quality of life. And that's what I just wanted to say.
So, thank you, Mary. So let's, I just want to do a quick prayer, and all that stuff, and we can go. Jesus, we thank you that you've gathered us all here together, that everyone was civil and wonderful. Lord, continue to be with all of those that are in the Bahamas. Lord, for the Bahamian government, please be with them. Open up doors so that help can flood in. And Lord, help everyone as they shuttle people around in that troubled area. And Lord, please be with all the families that are struggling with medical stuff, with Alzheimer's. And please be with all the households that are represented here tonight. Amen.